go! There she is, Tierra del Fuego.
Aye, and a right storm to go with it. If we hold on much longer, we're going to lee shore.
Right, Mr. Tranter. Reef the topsail.
All right, Captain.
And the topgallants.
Reef the topsail.
Hold her steady.
Look at those ships turning their guns out.
How many men were lost?
6 of us were picked up out of 32 men.
It's a fearful place to own.
Too fearful for the insurers. Wouldn't insure it for doubling the horn.
They would. You wouldn't put your hand in your pocket for the extra cost.
How many men did the longboat hold, Mr. Baines?
About a dozen men.
And you carried only one boat for 32 men?
Aye.
Surely provision
it's
ought
not
to
the
be
owner's business to provide for every eventuality.
Vampira was the first ship I ever had command of, sir. And I lost her.
Master's paid to make decisions. Some right, some wrong. Nobody tell Beals about himself and the Almighty.
You're not the first captain to lose his ship, and you won't be the last.
If only I'd not tried to carry so much canvas. If I'd have kept off the shore.
No more ifs and buts, man. You were caught in the Cape Horn, and from that there's no appeal.
It's enough that you're safe, Mr. Baines. We still have the Charlotte roads.
Aye, now once her clear tomorrow for the Isle of Man with a load of bricks and salt. And come back with a cargo of Manx muttons. Here's your papers.
Don't give me command again, sir.
Want a fast passage and a quick profit. She'll use the money to charter the Star of Bethlehem. She's a fully rigged ship, open to offers. I intend to load her with coal for the West Indies and come back with sugar, rum, molasses and coffee.
How can I thank you, sir?
You don't. You're the hardest driver mate I know. I want you to sign with me as mate of the Star of Bethlehem. Now, when you come back with the Charlotte Roads, you can pick your own crew, hardest, roughest lot that you can find. Work them until they drop and leave the money.
Oh?
While you were away, Mr. Callan seized control of the Onedin Line Steamship Company.
Bought a sack full of shares through nominees.
And ousted him as chairman.
With Fogarty as his right-hand man.
You're a smart head on his shoulders, that young fellow.
And he owes me a fund of ill will. Heaven knows why.
Well, before I sailed on the Pampero, I thought everything was cut and dried. You were going to build a steamship.
He was.
And still am. I floated that company with a nominal capital of £100,000, half paid up, half on call. You see, you paid 10 shillings for a £1 share. Albert Fraser, Robert and myself, we bought 45,000.
I've got 2, but I'm bound to lose my money.
Then Mr. Callan stepped in and secretly bought 48,000.
Yes, and became principal shareholder in his Onedin line.
You see, his 48 can outvote my 45, but there still remains another 7% in the hands of other shareholders. Now, if I can lay my hands on another 6%, we can oust Callan, and that Onedin line will be ours again.
If.
Well, 10 shillings for a £1 share, that seems like good business.
Not if the unsubscribed capital can be called up by Callan and his pet board of directors.
It means, Mr. Baines, that we might have to find another £22,500 any time Mr. Callan decides.
20 years, got 22.5 pence.
Unless I can lay my hands on another 6%. You see the urgency.
You can rely on me, sir. You'll get your fast voyage if every man aboard has to eat and sleep aloft. I'll not fail twice. And the new ship, the steamer, you will build her.
Well, building her's Albert Fraser's job. Mine's finding the money.
Taller mass, Mr. Fraser, and spars to carry a good spread of canvas.
Can't you get it through your wits that she's not designed to carry sail?
And a bowsprit.
Bowsprit? The engines will drive her into the first head sea she meets, and your damned bowsprit will be so much matchwood.
No Callan sailing master worth his salts will consider driving his ship into a head sea. Under such conditions, he would douse his fires and use his sails to pay her off.
Then you and Callan should stick to sail and leave steamers to steamship men. If James were chairman of this company, she'd be built without provision for so much as a shred of canvas.
But James Onedin is not chairman, Mr. Callan is. And the shareholders have backed Mr. Callan's decision to build it to carry sails.
Should be unstable, too much top hamper.
Let me remind you, Mr. Fraser, that you're bound to carry out the wishes of the shareholders.
Callan's wishes, you mean? He's terrified that this ship will be built to my specification.
Well, it's enough to terrify any man who ever set foot aboard a ship. Look at it. It's ugly, clumsy, got as much freeboard as a frying pan. She'll be stiff, slow in answering the helm. She'll wallow in yaw, and the first following seal pooper.
Not with a 3,000 horsepower engine to push her along, she won't.
Engine of that size, shake the ship to pieces.
Understand me clearly, Fogarty. This ship will be built to my specifications, or not at all.
Very well, Mr. Fraser. I shall convey your views to Mr. Callan.
Don't trouble. I'll tell him himself.
Pay off and stay off. There's no other way of bringing these rapacious owners to heel. Hit them in their pockets, where it hurts. Withdraw your labour.
And starve? While clubbers and scrag-end sailor ships? The Tippinazes would have a right royal time.
Once you sign articles, you're at the mercy of every snot-nosed master, every bucko mate whose notion of discipline is to break your head.
You're right, lad.
You all well know that once you sign articles, you cannot confine. You cannot even complain without being accused of mutiny.
Right, lad. Go on.
We have no choice, brothers. We make our stand here, on the dockside, and strike for liberty and a new charter for seamen.
The owners have long pockets, long memories, and the law on their side.
That's right, lad.
My brother, friends. My brother sailed under the Onedin flag aboard the Pampero, and she went down off the Horn, taking 26 men with her. 26, and my brother was one of them. And what provisions did Onedin make, eh? None. And who took to the boats, my brother? Oh, no. The master and mate, and only four. And only four others.
End the American Civil War! End the American Civil War! No more slavery!
Cotton will be coming back. The mills will open. Work for all.
The end of the American war. And all that means is more profits for the owners and more misery for sailors. Listen to them. Listen to them, ringing out the bells for the end of Negro slavery and the whip. But I say, let them look nearer to home.
Big mouth. The last time I listened to you, I was denied work for 3 months.
God, that scum. What the devil?
How dare you?
James Onedin's brother? Yes, that's right. Well, I need no help from no murdering Onedins.
Why, Robert? As usual. Couldn't mind his own business.
Look, I saw this poor chap being set
Poor
upon.
chap, indeed. Jessup is a well-known agitator. They were giving him no more than he deserved.
Jessup. Still, a man has a right to air an opinion, Sarah.
And it's a man's duty to fit himself for his proper station in life.
Right, now, Anne, well, what can we do for you, eh? Have a nice bit of bacon here. Smoked, only 5 pence the pound.
Oh, a little beyond my purse, I'm afraid.
Anne, I'm sure you won't mind my mentioning the matter, but your account now stands at £7, 16 and 8 halfpenny.
Now, come on, Sarah. And his family. Times are hard.
But accounts must be paid.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I must just ask you to extend our credit a little further. At the moment, we don't have a penny in the house.
Oh, I do not pretend to understand it. James owns £20,000 worth of Onedin shares, and yet you say he can't afford to settle up a few pounds.
Sarah, I've explained.
Oh, James could always go to you, Robert, my dear.
Perfectly simple. If James attempts to sell any of his shares, Mr. Callan will snap them up and effectively own the Onedin line.
And in the meantime?
In the meantime, Sarah, Anne has all the credit that she requires. I ask only one thing in return, Anne.
What's that?
That you persuade James not to try to make my fortune. Not ever again.
Oh, where the devil is he?
I've told you, James. Albert is discussing business with Mr. Callan at his warehouse.
I want to see him. I want to see him now.
Albert was right. We are alike, you and I. We're like father. We think only of what we want, and the devil take everyone else.
Oh. What do you want, Elizabeth, eh?
Don't you know?
Seems to me you've got everything that a woman could possibly want. Fine home, good husband.
A son? And if you'd not interfered, I'd have married his father.
Interfere? It was I that urged you to marry Daniel Fogarty when I heard you was bearing his child.
Ordered me to marry him, and I'll not have my life ordered for me any more by my brother, my husband, or anyone else.
Albert's right. We are alike.
Why do you want to see Albert?
Well, now that the Americans have finished killing one another, all of their eastern seaboard's open to shipping again.
Well, why the urgency?
Well, we've got to seize our opportunity now while the other owners are fighting like cats in a sack.
What opportunity?
For trade, girl, for trade.
Look.
Callan's warehouse.
Come on now, quickly! Come on with those buckets! Come on, you hard! Here, let me get you! Lay on that pipe like the devil was behind you! Let me give you a hand! Come on now! Hey, get out of the way!
Anybody in there?
No one's come out! Look out, sir! Hey, Tarzan! Go on, sir. Ready, quickly. Pretty tight. Make that jump, sir. Right now, get it up, James. Quickly, come on, pick it up. Stretch it out. Now you, sir.
Callan and his son Edmund. We must save them. No, Alan. There's nothing you can do for them.
Well, Daniel, if I am to inherit the Callan shipping line, the sooner I learn something of its ramifications, the better. But I can see I shall need to rely upon your judgment in these matters. You will not refuse me.
Anything in my power, Miss Callan.
Good. Then perhaps you can explain to me, for I have a poor head for financial matters, how it is that my late uncle, a shrewd businessman, seems to show such small profits from his many ventures.
Well, Mr. Callan calculated to make 15 to 20% profit per voyage, Miss Emma. Now, with a fleet of 26 ships, that should be enough return for anyone.
But there seems to be so little cash in hand.
Well, it was always Mr. Callan's policy to reinvest his profits as quickly as possible. Money, Miss Emma, is of little use in itself. It must be made to work. Those are the company accounts. Now, it's not my place to reflect upon the size of Mr. Callan's private fortune, but his assets in shipping alone must be in excess of £100,000.
And how do I draw upon this money?
For private use? No, I would advise against that. That money is working capital. Crews have to be fed and paid, harbour dues, pilotage, dock fees, fresh stores to be put on board, vessels in need of overhaul and re-rigging, shore staff to be paid.
I understand. It seems I am to have the smell, but not the touch of money. Perhaps I should look for an equally wealthy suitor.
Well, if you don't take care, fortune hunters will be buzzing around you like bees around a honeypot. What you require is a man who will put your own interest above all else.
And where would I find such a paragon?
Well, if you're determined upon seeking someone of similar estate and social standing as yourself, I can only propose...
Propose? Oh, my dear Daniel.
No, I only meant to say...
You must not drive me too far, Daniel. Why to propose and then immediately to retract? You were about to retract, were you not?
No, I meant...
You would not consider yourself a fortune hunter?
Certainly not.
Then I really must consider where my best interests lie. Mustn't I?
What do you think of her?
She's a beautiful ship.
And she's better sailing qualities than the Pampero. Come aboard. Let's have a look at her fittings.
You should have a pleasant voyage.
Comfortable enough.
James, about Captain Baines, if he's to be mate, it's a step down for him.
Look, if our sailor's master, I don't pay myself.
Won't he feel resentful?
If he does, he can put it to good use. Make the crew work that much the harder.
But it looks as though you no longer trust him.
Oh, look, I trust Baines as a seaman, but those West Indian planters, they're sharp. I intend to extract every ounce of profit from this voyage. I think you should sail with me.
Of course, James. But why the sudden change of heart?
Save 7 shillings a week on that infernal basement.
Keep a good cheese, Robert.
Any more?
A very good cheese. I'll have 2 pounds of the Lancashire. Oh, and a dozen of your best claret.
You'll allow no such thing, Father. You'll leave the housekeeping entirely to me. Here you are, Robert.
Now.
No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jessup.
But I pay off at £1 a week, regular.
And then take 9 of the goods out with you.
I'm in work, she pays off every penny, and well, you know it, missus.
We have bills to meet as well, you know.
Aye, and a regular source of income from the likes of us.
You're at liberty to take your custom elsewhere, Mr. Jessup.
Yes, once the account is settled, no doubt.
Naturally. We are not a benevolent society.
Come on, Ellen. We get no satisfaction here. Oh.
I didn't come here for satisfaction. I came for bread for the children. And you don't help by ranting on to Mrs. Onedin. Please, Mrs. Onedin, if you could see your way, just for another week.
Oh, don't beg, woman.
If you don't get work soon, we shall all be beggars.
I'll find a ship soon enough.
Look, Mrs. Jessup, as soon as your husband signs articles, you bring your allotment note straight here. Then we'll clear the account and start afresh.
Needing shops, needing ships, and needing no crackers. Well, what chance do we have, eh? Come on, Ellen. We'll manage.
Mr. Jessup.
Yeah?
The Star of Bethlehem will be signing articles this afternoon. Perhaps if I were to have a word with my husband on your behalf.
Another Onedin. Well, before I sign on another Onedin ship, I'd starve.
You mean your wife and children would? It's a poor sort of man who puts principles before family.
Sanctimonious claptrap, missus. Well, who keeps us down, eh? So they must put family before common justice.
Don't eat him, missus. He'll talk different with regular wages.
I will speak to my husband.
God bless you, missus.
I want foretopman, main top, and mizzen top. I want a bosun, carpenter, sailmaker, and lamp trimmer. No, I don't want scrinch anchors, sea lawyers, deadbeats, and barnacles. I want seamen, Western Ocean men, not flying fish sailors. All right, Jackson, we'll have you. Want you. Play. And what's your name? Fletcher. Fletcher, right. All right, Richard. And listen. Make your mark quickly and go.
My compliments to Miss Callan. Tell her I shall be delighted to accept her kind
anybody,
invitation.
sailmaker or lamp trimmer?
Remember that.
Mr. Baines.
All right, what's the delay, Mr. Baines?
Well, we need a sailmaker and a lamp trimmer, sir. This is the only one available, and he's a troublemaker.
Jessup, isn't it?
Sir.
Well, you've handled trouble before, haven't you, Mr. Baines?
Yes, but
I'd
I'd rather...
get him signed on. We've wasted enough time as it is. I've got an appointment to show, right?
Aye, aye, sir.
Oh, Miss Callan, may I present Mr. James Onedin and Mr. Albert Fraser?
So kind of you to call at such short notice, Mr. Onedin. I'm delighted to make your acquaintance, Mr. Fraser.
If that is true, Miss Callan, then my pleasure in your company is more than doubled.
I've asked you gentlemen here in the hope that we may come to an amicable agreement. My uncle's untimely death.
Ah, you have our commiserations, Miss Callan.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser.
Miss Callan, your note suggested that a conversation between us might be to our mutual benefit.
I'm afraid my poor uncle left his affairs in some disorder, Mr. Onedin. However, Mr. Fogarty, who is my advisor in these matters, has drawn my attention to the fact that I now appear to be a principal shareholder in your company, gentlemen.
You are referring to the Onedin Line Steamship Company Limited.
That is so.
How many shares do you hold, Fogarty?
10.
That's a poor reward for such devoted service, wouldn't you say? I would dispose of them if I were you.
Why?
Because if your financial advisor has his way, I doubt that any of the shares will be worth the paper they're written on.
And you would advise me to sell?
Indeed, I would.
To whom?
We are prepared to buy back your shares at par.
You will buy back my poor, worthless shares at face value? Why, a rare act of generosity, sir. One that gives a lie to the rumour that no one strikes a bargain with James Onedin without having the worst of it.
Miss Callan, either we come to an accommodation here and now, or we shall all be the losers. The issue is quite simple. Either you accept Mr. Fraser's design here, or you don't. Now, if you do, it'll pay your tobaccos to the hilt, and if you don't, common prudence should advise you to withdraw.
The value of your shares will be paid in full.
By whom?
Are you doubting me credit, Fogarty?
You spoke of an accommodation, Mr. Onedin. What had you in mind?
Well, you inherited from Mr. Callan a 48% holding in the company. My partners and myself, we hold 45%. Now, with the death of your uncle, the company now lacks a chairman, and with all due respect, Miss Callan, the likelihood of a woman being elected to that office is very slim indeed.
Mr. Fogarty has agreed to accept nomination on my behalf.
Oh, aye.
You'll be throwing good money after bad. Fogarty as chairman, my steamship will never get off the stocks.
Oh, it will, but with certain design modifications.
Never.
Approved by the shareholders. With 3 masts, a full suit of sails, and a raised superstructure, she'll provide accommodation for 70 first-class passengers.
You'd turn her into a passenger ship?
Aye, and make her pay.
The Golden Nugget was designed as a cargo ship, and cargo she shall carry.
Now, you know as well as I do, Mr. Fraser, she'll never show a profit on cargo alone.
This one will.
Mr. Fogarty knows well enough where the profit lies, Miss Callan, in cargo ships that can run to a timetable. After that, just a simple matter of bookkeeping.
Mr. Fogarty has my full confidence, Mr. Onedin.
Well, of course, if you want to throw away another £24,000 of your money on the furtherance of this man's career, that's your affair. A good day to you, Mr. Fogarty.
Miss Callan?
I'm inclined to agree with your assessment of Mr. Onedin's character. He is a man of purpose. Mr. Fraser, Why, he's quite the pretty little man.
Aye, and married to a pretty little wife.
And a 3-year-old son, I believe.
Aye. It's been burning a hole in my pocket for many a long day.
Indeed.
Marry me, Emma.
Would have preferred a prettier proposal. Dear Daniel, what an unromantic fellow you are.
Emma Callan's a greedy little miss. She wants the bread buttered on both sides.
You do realise that if she marries Fogarty, he will be Callan and Company?
A situation to be avoided.
Indeed. It's a thorn in our sides as it is.
Fogarty's a man of jealous disposition and evil-tempered. Now, as I read Miss Callan, she's not averse to little flirtation. It should be simple to cause a little rift between them.
You mean that I should?
James.
Albert seems quite his old self again. He's been such a gloomy ghost these days.
Oh?
He spends night after night working on plans for that confounded golden nugget.
Well, it's quite understandable. His whole life's wrapped up in that ship.
To the exclusion of all else.
You must learn to encourage, not carp, Elizabeth.
Sometimes I think I married the wrong man.
Elizabeth.
Well, after all, Daniel Fogarty is the father of my child.
Look, there she is, the Star of Bethlehem. Isn't she beautiful?
That's our west point. Hove our ship to for to take soundings clear. In 55 fathoms with a fine
Raise those halyards! Get with there! Lively now, lively!
We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll rave across the salt sea. Till we strike soundings in the channel of Old England. From Ashton to Scilly is 34 leagues.
Let every man here drink up his full bumper. Let every man here drink up his full bowl. And let us be jolly and drown melancholy. Drink a health to each jovial and true-hearted soul.
We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll rave across the salt sea. Till we strike soundings in the channel of Old England. From Ashton to Scilly is 34 leagues.
Albert?
Almost.
I'm so hungry.
Fogarty now has the impudence to keep me waiting in my own office.
Now, Albert, the exercise of restraint is the best way to deal with a man of Mr. Fogarty's temperament.
Mrs. Fraser? Mr. Fraser? Servant, ma'am.
I can spare you but a moment, Mr. Fogarty. My wife is rather fatigued. We're about to make our way home.
I trust you've carried out your instructions following our last discussion.
Instructions, sir?
I am but an officer of the company, as are you, Mr. Fraser. It is our duty to acquiesce to the directives of the board.
I do not require you, sir, to instruct me upon my duties.
3 masts, yards and sails.
I trust you've explained to your fellow directors, Mr. Fogarty, that this will alter the stability of the ship.
Then you must make the necessary corrections, Mr. Fraser, as you are the designer.
And that'll take time, Mr. Fogarty. You see, I must first draw up fresh specifications showing the precise curvature of the ship's hull at every foot of immersion. And that cannot be accomplished in 5 minutes.
I suggest you start work immediately.
In this office, Mr. Fogarty, I decide the work schedules. Good night to you.
I've not yet had the privilege of making Miss Callan's acquaintance, Mr. Fogarty. Perhaps you and she would care to dine with us one evening?
Thank you, Mrs. Fraser. I shall convey your kind invitation to Miss Callan. Good night.
I will not permit that man to set foot in my house.
And thereby bray your problems from the housetops. We must learn to use guile, my love. Guile.
To what end?
To build your steamship, my precious.
Lever, Johnny, lever, we be biscuits and burgo. Lever, Johnny, lever, 2 bob a day is all I'll pay. Lever, Johnny, lever, times is hard and the wages low. Lever, Johnny, lever, we be biscuits and burgo. Lever, Johnny, lever, 2 bob a day is all I'll pay. Lever, Johnny, lever, come for night and work for day. Lever, Johnny, lever, times is hard and
I'll soon have him singing a different tune, sir. Bosun! Roast him up there!
2 bob a day is all I'll pay. Lever, Johnny, lever.
It's not right. You just can't call a shareholders' meeting, not at such short notice.
It is necessary. A company can no more operate without a chairman than a ship without a rudder.
Yes, but
Please sit down, Robert. You're incommoding the lady.
I beg your pardon. But I still maintain that it's taking an unfair advantage. James is also a principal shareholder. And to call a meeting in his absence, well, it smacks of sharp practice.
Your brother's interests are in safe hands. Albert Fraser holds his proxy votes. Now, Miss Callan has done me the honour of putting forward my name as nominee for chairman. If, however, you and Mr. Fraser wish to oppose me, you're quite free to do so.
But we would prefer to be assured of your support.
You are a founder member and have a seat on the board.
I'm sure the rest of the shareholders will support Mr. Fogarty.
But your 5% would clinch the matter.
And secure your position on the board as a sinecure.
A sinecure that'd last no longer than it takes James to set foot ashore. No, thank you. Miss Callan, you are offering me nothing more than I already possess. I have a seat on the board. And what value is it? A small director's fee and a fine-sounding title.
The value of your favour would not go unrecognised.
Miss Callan is generously prepared to make over to you 100 shares of Callan's stock.
Miss Callan's generosity is only outmatched by her business acumen. No, thank you.
I see these shares today are quoted at 170 shillings.
I think I would have preferred a long-term investment, say, 2,000 Onedin line.
I think you overrate your value, Robert.
And I think you underestimate Albert Fraser's opposition. Albert will give you a close run for your money.
You prefer Onedin line shares to mine? Why, that certainly indicates commendable faith in Mr. Fogarty's abilities as chairman.
Without my proxy votes, Miss Callan, Mr. Fogarty won't be chairman.
I think 1,000 Onedin line shares should be a sound enough investment for us both.
On the other hand, 1,500 is a mere drop in the bucket compared to your 48,000.
Then we're agreed. 1,500 Onedin line shares in exchange for your proxies.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
When I shipped aboard the Ariel under Captain Delano, we were on the China tea run, and we fed full and plenty. We had as an entitlement £1.50 of beef per man every other day, and in between days, £1.25 of good pork. And in addition, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, a £0.5 of flour and a quarter pint of peas.
Always did feed well, them China boats. They had to, because they worked you like dogs.
And we work like dogs here and feed off the slops.
Can't expect cabin fare in the forecastle, can you?
Well, why not? Aren't we better than any officer that was ever born of woman, eh?
I've known worse.
There's worse, no doubt about that. There are plenty worse. I saw 3 men carried ashore from a Challenger ship in Liverpool. Malnutrition, they called it. I just called it plain starvation.
I was poisoned with bad flesh meat.
I've yet to see an officer carried ashore dying of hunger.
No use belly aching. Once we've signed articles, we've got to take what we're given.
Not for much longer. With a union. That's right, with a union. No man stands alone.
Watch below! Turn out and pass through!
What does he want now?
A bit of midnight deck scrubbing.
Jessup! Jessup!
Are you deaf, Jessup?
I signed articles of sailmaker, sir. The sailmaker does not stay and watch and watch.
Disobeyed a lawful command.
I'm staying on custom and practice, sir.
Custom and practice? Oh, we've got a sea lawyer here. Well, I understand a bit of sea law myself. Let's see now, you signed on as sailmaker and lamp trimmer, eh? Well, trim the lamps, Jessup.
I attended to every lamp just before sunset, sir.
Well, then you attend to them again and again. I want every lamp aboard the ship trimmed above and below decks. Safety of the ship, Jessup. Now, there's an article of sea law for you to chew over.
Aye, aye, sir. Safety of the ship, sir.
We'll give Albert's steam launch a run for its money at this rate. Oh, Baines says they're reeling off the knots.
Mr. Baines is very conscious of having your eye continually on him, James.
Good. It's a poor mate who isn't aware of his captain's presence.
He seems to be behaving in an unduly harsh manner.
Well, having lost one ship, no doubt he's not very anxious to lose another.
Here's this crew jumping around like a squad of soldiers.
Exactly. Captain Baines is learning the art of command. What is it?
Is building Albert's steamship so important to you, James?
Yes, it is.
You're sure you're not putting too high a price on it?
I formed that company and intend to regain control of it.
You cared nothing for steamships once. Now you'll risk everything to build one.
Very little to risk, but everything to gain. If Albert's steamship can do half of what he claims, it'll be worth the struggle.
Worth the suffering of a tired crew, afraid to look over their shoulders for fear of Mr. Baines.
You can't take into account every little hardship, not where progress is concerned. Here, do you realise how many Irish labourers died building the railways? Thousands.
I thought I was beginning to understand you, James. But I never took you for a man who'd risk men's lives to satisfy his purpose.
And stop trying to be my conscience. Yeah, trust me. If you don't, all this is for nothing.
Watch your heading there. Hold her steady.
I can't hold her, sir. The wind's shifting.
Stand by to come about. All hands to wear ship. Lively now, jump to it. Going hard to weather the helm.
What are you doing?
Keeping a journal.
Are you blaming Mr. Baines for poor Popey's death?
No.
Who then?
Well, Baines drives us. But who drives Baines?
And I've carried out diligent inquiries and satisfied myself that no blame attaches to the deck officer, Mr. Baines. Signed, Mr. Baines.
I should have remembered those two over the sides.
The safety of the ship comes before all other considerations. I'd have done exactly the same as you. If he had made full speed when the wind changed, we'd have found it on them rocks. Pope lost his life because he wasn't holding on. All right, Baines. The deck's yours.
Aye, sir.
Diligent inquiries, James?
I was there. Oh, so it happened. I'm satisfied.
I doubt the crew think the same.
Crew are not paid to hold opinions. Any man that goes to sea takes his own life in his hands.
Or your hands.
Only one man can give orders aboard a ship. The rest must obey. There's an end to it.
This is a dead man's auction. Held on behalf of our late shipmate, Tommy Pope. Cruelly drowned.
Cruelly ate by sharks, you mean?
Swept into the sea whilst carrying out the lawful commands of the deck officer.
Get on with it, Jessup!
Painting over the side on an insecure staging. At constant risk to life and limb, and for what purpose? To smarten up the owner's pretty ship.
Jessup!
I now call upon all hands to give of their charity to these few poor effects. in remembrance of their late comrade. Proceeds to go to his sorrowing widow and 3 orphan children. First item, 1 woolen cap. Kept for Sunday best. Will keep any head snug and warm through the rigours of an Irishman's summer. A wild Cape Horner, or a draughty horse Garrett. Now, what do I bid? 6pence. 9pence. 1 silver shilling. That one's at 2 shillings. 2 and 6pence. Any advance on 2 and 6pence. On $1/2. 1 alderman. Is that all I bid for this fine example of the craft of knitting and splicing?
3 bob.
3 shillings. I had 3 shillings. 3 and a joey. 3 and 6. Any advance on 3 and 6? 4 shillings. I had 4 shillings. Come on now. Come on now, bid generously and bid often. You don't need coins of the realm. The captain will acknowledge a chit and generously deduct it from your pay at the end of the voyage. Come on now, 4 shillings. And a half.
$1.
1 whole cartwheel. Going once. Going twice.
£5. £5.
£5. £5 of my money? Are you completely bereft of your senses? A man couldn't earn such a sum if he stayed aboard the entire voyage and spent not a single penny.
It's the least we can do.
The least? And heaven preserve us from your best. £5.
It's a small enough recompense for a woman losing a dear one.
Look, his woman was a slut, and he was the most ham-fisted sailor ever to set foot aboard a ship.
If the man was clumsy, then all the more reason why Mr. Baines should not have put him in a position of grave danger.
Seafaring is a dangerous profession, and no doubt a ship is the most dangerous vehicle ever devised by mind of man. But that doesn't give you the right to foist upon me every seaman's widow and brood of starvelings.
Have you no vestige of charity in your heart, James?
The deserving poor are more than well catered for. What with orphanages and asylums and workhouses, without my being asked to provide a private asylum for distressed seamen's wives. And Pope's wife will not be distressed for long. Not that one, you believe me.
That is not the point.
No, the point is £5 of my money. Will I not pay it? I'm going on deck now. Make sure no more of your pet mendicants take it into their minds to leap over the side.
These new airtights will be all the rage, you mark my words.
But will they buy them at £0.5 a tin?
Look, it's cheaper than butcher's meat. Even a small one will feed a whole family for a week.
Are you sure we can afford all this new stock?
Of course we can.
Provided Emma Callan is as good as her word.
Look, she gave me 1,500 shares of Onedin stock.
But only in return for supporting Fogarty as chairman.
Well, I thought I drove a sharp bargain, even though I do say it I shouldn't.
Well, I only hope James thinks so when he returns.
Look, I'll deal with James when the time comes. Now that I've got a bit of capital behind me, I intend to make something of myself. I shall be a man of substance. And remember, you and our boy come first. As for that brother of mine, let him stew in his own juice.
I've got a mouth like the inside of a devil's boots. I'm choking for a drink.
Heads down with your prayer boots and your mouth shut.
My knees are bleeding.
And you'll have head to match if you don't stow your gab.
Will we be getting any shore leave at Charlotte, Emily?
You to get drunk and disease, maybe? And there'll be no bumboats alongside neither, trading for thieves' ship stores.
He's gone only stone crazy, that fella is. Only stone crazy.
Couple of coats of China oil and those decks will be as good as new.
I want a clean ship, Mr. Baines.
Aye, sir. Boatswain, wash down, wipe down, and oil down.
Made good time, Mr. Baines. We'll discharge our coal iron rails at St. Thomas. Watch the hold out. Take on sugar, rum, coffee. Good profit there, Mr. Baines, good profit. We're going to build that steamship to Albert Fraser's design. I must scrape together every penny that I can get. I must buy every Onedin line share that I can lay my hands on. So fast passage, Mr. Baines. Time is money.
I'll give you the fastest passage you've ever known, sir.
Your wife, Mr. Jessup.
Done on our 10th wedding anniversary. Speaking likeness while you wait.
I thought I recognized her.
We met in my brother-in-law's shop, as I remember.
None of the Onedin stopped our credit, as I remember.
She must have been quite beautiful.
Yes, she was, then. The poor age quickly, missus.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're not, ma'am.
My husband is a hard man, but he is also a fair and just one.
But not notably a generous one. We want that extra penny, Mrs. Onedin. And this time, we intend to get it.
More shopping?
We've been invited to a dinner party. I must look my best.
I've little time for social engagements.
You've little time for anything but your precious steamship.
She must be designed according to my concepts, not those of Daniel Fogarty.
But how long will it take? You seem to have been months and months.
Until James's return. Then he can deal with the new chairman. And with your brother Robert. He's much to answer for. He betrayed us for a few miserable shares.
In return for voting Daniel Fogarty for chairman.
Judas. Wouldn't care to be in Robert's shoes when James returns.
Oh, forget it. Let James and Daniel Fogarty fight their own battles.
It's my battle as well. Unless James regains control of the company, I'll be forced to design the hybrid that Fogarty insists upon.
What does it matter whether it's built with masts and sails or not?
It matters very much to me.
Yes, of course, I'm sorry. Albert? This dinner party.
Who's giving it?
Emma Callan, no less. They say she lives in great style with liveried servants and a house so richly furnished you wouldn't believe. Oh, do say we can go, Albert.
All right. I suppose Daniel Fogarty will be the guest of honor.
He will be there, naturally. I've heard they're betrothed.
Robert, love, we have an invitation from Miss Callan. Oh, Robert, you are going up in the world.
Lay off there, lay off. Bosun! One of those seething bumboats comes alongside. Drop a heavy shackle down through its bilges. Aye, sir. Sheer off! What are you doing, Fletcher?
Fishing, sir. Watch below, sir.
Delay. Where's my cravat? 4 hours of daylight wasted already.
Are you going ashore?
Somebody must roust out those good-for-nothing lightermen.
I've never been ashore in a Caribbean port.
Well, think yourself lucky. Nothing but flies, mosquitoes, malaria, half-civilized natives, no place for a woman.
There must be shops.
Now, there's a market of sorts, but with no money to spare on fripperies.
Rain's coming down in bucketfuls.
Ruin his varnish work. Serves him right for not letting them bumboats come alongside.
Aye. Could have had fresh fruit and coconuts instead of shipboard tack day in, day out.
They had boatloads of fresh fish, all alive and kicking.
Oh, I tried my hand at catching a couple of them, but one of them bumboat men cut me line.
Can't blame them. It's their livelihood, isn't it?
This is good rum.
Aye. But forbidden. No spirituous slickers to be brought aboard. It's in black and white in the ship's articles. And you put your marks to it.
Well, if you don't work.
I can't abide these temperance ships. Work you till you drop, and then holy joeing all day Sundays.
No swearing.
Oh, that's petticoat influence.
Your crew of swearers from a captain down. A swearing ship is a sociable ship. That's what I hold to.
Swearing is a simpleton's outlet for anger. You save your tempers until we're back home.
And then?
You throw our labour. Well, every man. We'll not be alone, I promise you.
Strike?
What other course is there to set?
We can't afford to come out against the owners.
We can't afford not to.
£2.15 a month, and half of that signed away as an allotment for me wife. I'll think myself lucky if I've 3 sovereigns left at the end of this voyage.
Can you think of a better reason for striking, eh? Fair wages and regular hours?
You can't work regular hours at sea. It stands to reason.
Why not? The steamship men do. 4 hours on and 4 hours off as regular as clockwork.
Unless you get a bit of a breeze, and then it's all hands out to make sail.
Hey, look out.
Rum, that'll cost you 3 days' pay, Jessup.
It's my bottle.
Sir.
It's my bottle, Mr. Baines.
Right, Fletcher, 3 days' pay stop for you. 2 days and half provisions for the rest.
Oh, why don't you just starve us to death and have done with it, eh?
Insolence and contemptuous behaviour, that's another day's pages. Any further comments? Right, on deck every man jack of you. You'll sweat that rum out of you before this day is through. And Fletcher, take a bucket of grease and sluice down the mainmast. From the royal masthead down. And when you finish, report to me. I'll find more work suitable for your talents.
There's some real men.
You allowed the traders to come alongside, Mr. Baines. Seems so unfair to the crew.
Those bumboat men would steal everything that wasn't nailed down, ma'am, and the crew are no better. They've no ready money, so the ship's stores will go in exchange for rum and palm wine. In half an hour, they'll be a drunken rebel. I've seen it happen too many times, ma'am. After a long sea voyage, they'd sell their souls for drink. Look out, ma'am!
Yes, sir! On deck!
Was that plain carelessness, Jessup?
Sorry, ma'am. The pin slipped from my hand.
You might have killed Mrs. Onedin. Just you take care in future.
Mr. Baines behaved precisely the same as I would have done under the same circumstances. Put paid to the matter there and then.
But to strike the man.
You might have been killed. Mr. Baines struck him on your behalf.
It was an accident.
Accident? Listen, Jessup had no right, nor did his duty require him to carry a belaying pin aloft. Now, look, if Mr. Baines chose to proceed against the man, I'd have no alternative but to put him in irons to await British justice. Then he'd have to try his luck with a British magistrate on a charge of attempted murder.
Murder?
Well, we've only Jessup's word for it that it was an accident.
It was an accident.
Look, you might have been killed. Now, an inquiry's bound to find against the man. I assure you, Jessup would return you small thanks for your justice.
You have a closed mind.
I have a very clear mind and only one thing in it, to get this boat loaded and homeward bound as quickly as possible.
Money.
Oh, I might remind you, Anne, that the money that you affect to despise brings you the security that you crave.
You can call on me as witness.
Aye, and me.
Would that benefit our cause?
You could have him in front of a magistrate.
My tongue is not a me. My tongue is the law. The law which obliges us all to suffer injustice.
Do you devote yourself entirely to ship design, Mr. Fraser?
Not to the exclusion of all else, and certainly not at this moment, Miss Callan.
Mr. Fraser has quite a talent for taking advantage of the moment.
What a pretty ring. It is an engagement ring, is it not, Miss Callan?
At dear Daniel's insistence. Why, he really is the most importunate fellow imaginable.
Indeed. Then I must have entirely misread Mr. Fogarty's character.
I think you'll discover, Miss Callan, that Mr. Fogarty has quite an acute sense of direction.
Ah, well, he's reached the summit now. Eh, Daniel?
With your help, Robert.
And Miss Callan's generosity, I understand.
Oh, Robert drove a hard bargain. And to insist upon Onedin Line shares in preference to Callan shares shows a great faith in your steamship, Mr. Fraser.
Oh, quite.
So, Miss Steamship is to be redesigned by a committee of sailing shipmen and chandlers? Oh, I think not.
Once and for all, Mr. Fraser, it is the board of directors who decide company policy, not any one man, however talented.
Isn't it somewhat unusual for a minority shareholder to act as chairman? I think you rather overestimate the value of your 10 shares, Fogarty.
The number of
Mr.
shares which
Fraser. I am principal shareholder of the Onedin Line, and Mr. Fogarty has my full support.
Have you ever once set eyes on my plans for the steamship, Miss Callan?
No.
Then perhaps you should.
If the seamen have their way, your plans will remain gathering dust and we'll all go out of business. I think we're heading for a strike. And the sooner the better for my taste. Meet them head on and smash them is the only way.
But most of our customers are seamen's wives, and all have tick books. Really, the labouring classes simply do not know where their own best interests lie.
Obviously not with Mr. Fogarty.
Steamships are the root cause. Those who've shipped aboard steamers say that food and conditions are better. They're now demanding the same conditions aboard sailing ships.
And you should lose no time in fitting them with engines. Labouring classes appear to be on the side of progress, after all.
They're also demanding that their wages be doubled to £5 a month. Is that also progress, Mr. Fraser?
I think it downright wicked.
Oh, well, they will have more money to spend.
You see, Mr. Fogarty, your board is already divisive in its opinions.
I know one man whose opinion I can depend on. James Onedin. Did you?
Right.
Sunday and no fresh meat.
Cracker ash every day. Not enough of that to keep a bird alive.
We starve on Weevily biscuits. If the cabin goes short, I warrant you.
We had the last of the foes today.
Ah, the smell's all over the ship. Enough to drive a man crazy.
Not stinky meat thrown over the side, homeward bound on half rations, no fresh stores took aboard.
What can we do about it?
We can claim our entitlement. And that's 8 pence a day.
Aye. This should be a most profitable voyage.
At whose expense?
What?
The conditions of employment aboard this ship are a disgrace.
And this voyage is no different from any other. Oh, there is a difference. We've got Jessup in the crew.
We dine off roast fowl while the men are on half rations.
Bad meat must be disposed of. You know that as well as I do, Anne. And if those tender feelings of yours are still troubling you, let them do so no longer. From tomorrow on, we shall all be on short commons.
There is growing anger aboard this ship.
And you know the cause of it as well as I do. Jessup, I tell you, he's a troublemaker. The born agitator. It's the last time that he sets foot aboard an Onedin ship.
You take away his livelihood?
No. No, I'll recommend him for a berth aboard a Callan ship, eh?
James, the men have long-standing grievances. Mr. Jessup's only a focal point.
What grievances? When they queued to sign articles of agreement, they knew what they was about. There was no compulsion.
Only the compulsion of unemployment and starvation if they did not sign. What manner of choice is that to offer a man?
Anne, ship's articles was drafted by Act of Parliament, and I must abide by them as much as the crew.
But the penalties are lopsided for as master and order sit in judgment of your own case.
And I think the best thing is that you stay at home in future. One sea lawyer aboard ship is more than enough.
James.
No, Anne. Even if I agreed with you, I have to abide by ship's articles.
And make them work for your benefit.
Look, what do you want me to do? Join the crew? Help make us bankrupt? Yes, what is it?
Beg pardon, sir. We're a deputation representing the interests of the forecastle hands, sir.
Is this an official complaint?
Which will require entering into the log and properly and duly witnessed.
I'll overlook your impertinence this time, Jessup. Right, what's your complaint?
Beg pardon, sir, but no impertinence was intended. Mr. Jessup is official spokesman, and we'll not stand by and see him abused.
Right. Make your complaint and get on with it.
Our provisions have been reduced by 1/2.
So?
So we claim 8 pence a day as our right as laid down by the Merchant Shipping Act. Section 123, paragraphs 1 and 3 viz. If during the voyage the allowance of provisions is reduced by more than 1/3, the seaman shall be entitled to, and in addition to wages, the sum of 8 pence a day.
We stand on law.
Do you now? Well, you should have read a little further, a little deeper, Jessup. But if it can be shown that any provisions, the allowance of which have been reduced, could not be procured or supplied in proper quantities, such circumstances shall be taken into consideration. At our last port of call, fresh meat was unobtainable. Does that answer your complaint?
Well, we'll go hungry now. But your turn will come.
No fresh meat obtainable. Is that true, James?
Yes, quite true. Well, fresh meat was obtainable, but not at a price that we could afford.
Your husband should be home soon, Mrs. Jessup.
I wish it had been a much longer voyage.
Oh?
I hoped and prayed that he'd be away at sea while the strike's on.
Well, it hasn't started yet. Perhaps it won't. I'm sure the men will come to their senses. They know which side their bread is buttered.
Butter? When did the merchant seaman or his family last taste butter?
I think you better persuade your husband to join a new ship the moment he docks, Mrs. Jessup.
Now, we'll never have a better opportunity. The port of Liverpool will be packed with ships, cotton, hide and grain from the States. Trade's booming. We must put our demands to the employers